Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to take a closer look at Taiwan Semiconductor manufacturing and the recent updates the company has seen in the past few months. This is a great video if one, you are a semiconductor investor in general, as TSM hits pretty much the overall semiconductor market, or two, if you are directly a TSM holder. So let's get started.
I do want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and make sure to check out fool.com/Jose to get the top 10 stocks to buy right now.
All right, so we can see TSM ended the year at $74.50, right now sitting at a market cap of $368 billion. And for the year of 2022, it was down roughly 42%, so definitely a rough time for this semiconductor giant, as there have been a lot of negativity and a lot of bad news dealing with the semiconductor market. So first, let's start off with some recent news. On December 29, so a few days ago, TSMC held their 3nm volume production ceremony. So for those that are not familiar, TSM develops advanced nodes. Right now, the most advanced node that they are giving to their customers or selling to their customers is 5nm. Prior to that was 7nm. Prior to that was 10, and they continue to update. So now they are working on the 3nm. They did announce that, hey, the 3nm technology has successfully entered volume production with good yield. So that's great news, right? You want to continue to see that increasement or improvement of technology. Unfortunately, due to all these kind of macroeconomic headwinds over inventory correction, a lot of TSMC customers are set to cut their orders in 2023. Its existing nodes with the 7nm more important, which they expect as much as 50% utilization reduction in the first quarter of 2023. And some investors might be worried about this, and I want to say why. Yes, it is a yellow flag, but I wouldn't consider it much of a red flag for TSM. They do mention in this article that we see here from Tech Power Up that revenue is expected to fall by at least 15% in the first quarter of 2023 for TSMC. So we have seen that the overall stock has gone down 42% last year. The real question is how much of this is already priced in. If they do see a revenue drop this upcoming quarter, will the stock price drop even more, or is this something that the market is already expecting? Let me know in the comments below. And if you are enjoying the episode so far, make sure to hit the thumbs up, as it does help me grow my overall audience. If you want to support a little bit more, make sure to subscribe using my link at fool.com/Jose. Finally, if you are a semiconductor investor, you are going to enjoy my weekly podcast that's on the new channel. The link is down on the pinned comment, or you can click above. We should be hitting 300 subs really soon, and I really appreciate all the support. So like I mentioned earlier, based on these reports, it says that the 7nm might see as much as a 50% utilization reduction in the first quarter of 2023. And let me just say why. Definitely a yellow flag, but something I really wouldn't worry too much about. So here we can see this is the first quarter of 2020 in forms of revenue. And we can see before the 7nm and the 16nm were roughly 50% of total revenue. But as the company continues to develop, you start to see less kind of dependency of older generation nodes, and you start to see more dependency on the newer generation nodes. So here we have now the 7nm and the 5nm represent over 50% of total revenue. So what I do believe it's going to happen, obviously they're seeing a reduction in order, so it's not going to be a one-to-one transaction, but a lot of the 7nm people are going to start either moving to 5nm or 3nm. So that kind of volume or revenue from certain segments is going to start moving on. Obviously, I do expect something similar to happen, where some 7nm customers are going to stay, but others are going to move to more advanced nodes, 5nm or 3nm. So again, not much of a bearish flag. I think this is more short-term pain, but at the end of the day, numerous headwinds. As we know, this technology is used in every product, from smartphones, high-performance computing, Internet of Things, automotive, and others, right? So nothing too much to worry about. We also have some other interesting news here coming in from TSM. The company is looking to expand. There are reports that TSMC is having a potential second plant being built in Japan. So we know TSM, one of their biggest issues right now is their geographic diversification. Too many plants in Taiwan, and this is a risk that many customers are worried about. So it does seem like TSM is trying to eliminate this risk. They're opening more plants in Japan. We saw that big plant in the United States. There's also reports that they are opening up a new plant in Germany. So again, continue to increase that overall exposure. Each plant, though, is not always going to be for advanced node. They do mention that this kind of Germany plant will be mainly used for the automobile industry, which uses 28 to 22 nanometer. Again, even though it's not advanced, it's also a great move because those kind of customers are always important. We can see here in third quarter of 2020, the 28 nanometers still roughly 10% of total revenue. And this is that now cars are becoming smarter, so that growth can probably see a nice improvement. Next, we have another kind of automotive news. We can see Tesla plans 4 nanometer chips from TSMC's Arizona fab. So even though in the automobile industry, like I mentioned before, you normally see those bigger nodes, Tesla is a little bit more of a tech giant to some extent. They want the most advanced, obviously, for their overall autonomous driving, and they are planning to get those more advanced chips from TSMC in Arizona. Again, we are seeing that increasement of long tailwinds for TSMC in forms of potential customers. I mean, if we take a closer look in early December, TSMC did give us their early November monthly revenue numbers, and it was up over 50% year over year. Again, this is a company that shares their monthly numbers. I do want to see how things continue to change. They are going to release their December numbers in the, I want to say next week. They usually release it around the 10th or the 12th. So then that's when we're going to see December numbers. And I want to see if we're going to see that year over year increase or decrease. I don't don't know what to expect there, right? We are seeing reports that we mentioned earlier that TSMC customers are seeing a bit of a loss, but I do expect that's going to be more coming in for the January month, maybe not so much for the month of December. So even if December comes out looking pretty good, I don't believe we should kind of consider it a green flag for TSMC. Again, even though we are seeing a lot of pain for this company, I believe most of this is short-term pain, not long-term lived. Final announcement I have here is TSMC announces update for their Arizona plant. Like I mentioned earlier, they are expanding internationally and they are expecting to build another fab here in Arizona, and this is going to be roughly a $40 billion investment. So I do believe TSM is doing great by continuing to evolve and continuing to expand and eliminating that geopolitical risk. I think it's moving a lot faster than expected. I am a TSMC shareholder, but roughly if I want to enter into TSMC, I do it through ETFs instead. Not main reason right there. I do believe it has a nice dividend, but I'd like to get that exposure of the overall semiconductor market right now because I do believe there's huge growth potential here. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.